Charlie's position on Israel was very clear. I like them more than I like Hamas. I just wish I was free to criticize Israel and not be labeled an anti-Semite, because I can criticize my own government and not be called anti-American.
Right.
But why do I have more freedom to do, that and not criticize, a foreign government?
Andrew Kolvet, best friend and producer for Charlie Kirk, expressing his late friend's frustrations with criticizing Israel and shedding light on the conservative influencer's true position regarding the country.
Kolvet went on Alex Clark's podcast, Culture Apothecary, amid swirling conspiracy theories spread by fellow influencers like Candace Owens that Kirk had received threats for softening his stance on Israel in recent months, even going so far as to claim a federal conspiracy was behind Kirk's shooting. But Kolvet says that despite Kirk's frustrations around criticizing Israel, he was a staunch ally of the country and also of the Jewish community.
Charlie was a friend of the Jewish people and a friend of Israel. Did he have opinions about the prosecution of the war, he thought their PR was abysmal, thought they were doing more harm than good in many ways for their own cause. He has a lot of great Jewish friends and some people that maybe some not so good ones, right? But I think it's just a nuanced thing.
Clark also asked Kolvet about allegations that Kirk was offered $150,000 from Israel. Take a listen.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yep.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said no. We canceled like money wires and things.
$150 million.
Yeah, big.
I don't think he was getting out of bed for $150,000.
His salary was more than
that. Big organization that received a lot of money, but a lot of money from America.
I wanted to ask you to paint the picture, though, because I think, and Colin, my partner, was breaking it down for me, like in the weeds, because
has he been following this?
He's following very closely. Well, he kind of just knows exactly what's going on, and I kind of refuse sometimes to get in the conspiracies with her, so I'll just be like, okay, just let me know. I'll read the write-up. But he kind of reeled me in a little bit, and we talked about it loosely that there are some conspiracy theories. So paint the picture for the audience that maybe didn't want to go down the rabbit hole.
I don't like to use the phrase conspiracy theories because that
implies that we're kind of mocking.
Very dismissive and very mocking. And it is a little bit more complicated that, first of all, I appreciate what Andrew Kolvet said. I agree with it entirely. He was well representing Charlie's views. He's well representing my views. Exactly what he said is correct. Well, obviously, we're not on Hamas's side vis-a-vis Israel, but you should be free to criticize Israel. You can be free to criticize the conduct of the war. You're free to criticize American support for the Israeli government. All of that is true and correct and right, and I thought Charlie and Turning Point was doing a pretty good job of navigating those waters, because it is the case that a lot of older conservatives are extremely supportive of the Israeli government and everything they're doing, if you talk to them. Younger conservatives are not. Younger conservatives are Israel skeptical in the way that he outlined. So Turning Point has some high-profile Jewish donor supporters, and there has been reporting on conversations that were being had, a retreat with some donors and supporters that took place where whether to be more pro-Israel or less Israel was debated, as were a number of other topics, more so in let's hear what people have to say and let's see who makes the best argument, and almost like talent recruitment and search.
Got it.
Rather than an actual, because the organization, MAGA encompasses a lot of different views, from the Bannon-style economic populism to Elon Musk type economic libertarianism to a lot of other things. So there's room for different opinions on foreign policy. There are different opinions on Ukraine. It's plenty of room for different opinions on Israel. So that was all taking place, and it's perfectly plausible, and I'm not going to dismiss outright that of course there were going to be Jewish supporters of Turning Point that wanted it to be firmer on ironclad support for Israel the way some of the conservative movement has been. And there are also going to be supporters and personalities who knew Charlie Kirk and participated in Turning Point events, like Tucker Carlson, who I happen to like and agree with on a lot of things, saying let's be more Israel critical, like Candace Owens as well. Now, Candace takes it much further than I take it in a lot of directions. I think she just says things that are obviously like not true. Our viewers know I have a great deal of disdain for Candace Owens.
I found out that Amber did too last week on Friday.
She's not popular with us guys. She's just not. So that's where it is. So I never want to chill. So bottom line, I never want to say that, oh, there's nothing to see here. There was no pressure that Charlie was facing or Turning Point was facing. There was no controversy. That is not true. But the idea that is being subtly hinted at or introduced by, and I don't want to put words in people's mouth, I don't know exactly what Candace or other people have said, but Ian Carroll, who's someone who's been on Joe Rogan, who's been on with Tucker, has probably been on with Candace, his immediate reaction was like, they killed him in a very, they being, fill in the blanks, Israel type way. And that is a ridiculous and absurd idea that if there was a difference of opinion or taking place, motivated the Israeli government to kill Charlie Kirk that is a conspiracy theory. It doesn't even make sense because, if anything, Charlie's death could very well cause people who are more critical of Israel, like Nick Fuentes, for example, or Candace herself, to have more prominence.
They're looking for a new voice.
It doesn't make any sense. There's no evidence of it. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
And I think when I'm looking at from a macro level, I'm wondering how much is there a dialogue going on that seems like that's Charlie Kirk's philosophy or was his philosophy to have more dialogue, as opposed to when money's involved, pressure going on. So conversations about, so if these alleged things are true and $150 million is a lot of money, like you said, we don't know. So follow the trail, show the proof. Like I always tell Candace Owens, show the proof. But if people are trying to connect these dots, then why is there financial pressure being added as opposed to just donating to this group because you believe that overarchingly they support some of the same ideas that you support and they vocalize them well? Like, why is there a pressure to say something if people are allowed to ask questions? I think part of what was interesting about the MAGA base is that they have been open to challenging a lot of things, and even when it's within their own party. So the fact that there's like a reported active silencing trying to happen specifically from one group obviously would raise alarms in this moment, and definitely don't connect the dots to the assassination being connected to a country. But I do think that it's worth looking into because that's how we even got to Epstein or all these things, because the MAGA base is willing to look into it and find information that shows that it's worth pursuing. And so to know that there might be a conversation happening behind the scenes, even if the alleged money was not accepted, the fact that there is being money offered potentially to convince you to talk about something as opposed to just being honest with your thoughts that align with your viewpoints that you've been talking about and gaining this audience from, that's concerning for anybody that's an influencer to the level that Charlie Kirk was, because you have a voice and a platform that people find authentic and not like somebody, it just becomes government where you say people are lobbying you to say things. And so that seems like it would be an issue for a lot of people that do support the movement.
Charlie's approach to this issue was his approach to every issue, which was to debate it. At a recent Turning Point event, Charlie himself moderated a debate on U.S. support for Israel and what Israel's doing. That was Josh Hammer, who's a national conservative, extremely pro-Israel person, versus Dave Smith, who's a libertarian-leaning, stridently against what Israel is doing type of person. And they had a very heated, at sometimes uncomfortable and unpleasant, but fact-filled and well-presented debate on the issue that Charlie Kirk had put together. That was his, again, it's what I find very admirable about him. That was, his default was like, okay, well, there's some people who feel differently about this. Let's have an argument. Let's have a debate. That's how he was approaching the issue. And I hope Turning Point continues to handle it in that way under Erica Trump is the leader
Kirk,
of Erica Kirk is the leader of Turning Point now, and Andrew Kolvet did a great job elucidating Kirk's philosophy on this issue, so I hope he continues to be involved as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about this a lot more. Until then, Kamala Harris continues her media tour promoting that new book. Up next, the former vice president reflects on where things went wrong in last year's election.